Hello to everyone and welcome. Hello to everyone and welcome to this webinar. So all of you you can use the YouTube link to view this webinar. And also you can use your Facebook account and link onto Speaking Hands Facebook account and then view this webinar also. So we have around 399 people, 39 people already, sorry. And right now we have 46 participants who have joined us. And so I'm just waiting for it to become 50 participants. So let us wait for a minute. People are still joining in right now. Okay, right now we have around 47, very close to 50. So you're just nearing the maximum participant limit. All right. So let me introduce myself. My name is Rahul. This is my sign name, and yeah, that is my name, Rahul. And I'm working as a consultant with Speaking Hands as an advisor also. And I'm also working in a company called Unikey. So we are looking at sign language accessibility. And I'm also a partner with EdSign that is also working on accessibility issues throughout India. So we work for accessibility to protect the rights, protect like access to information, and then we broadcast a lot of educational resources. We make advertisements, commercials. So we just want to make everything accessible in sign language so that deaf people can understand. Well, this is Amresh here. So he is our interpreter. And Amresh has also joined us as interpreter for this session. And Amresh is also, he is my partner. We run Let's Sign together. Well, thank you very much. And I now invite the moderator to join. Can you please switch on your video, please? Your camera, can you switch it on? So Rahul is going to switch off his camera and he's going to be managing from the background, and all the best. I'll now give the floor to the moderator so she can start. Bhavna, your mic is off.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible?
Yeah, yes, sir. You are.
I, Bhavna Rawat, Assistant Professor at Speaking Hand Welfare Foundation, Rajpura. Today's webinar on employment avenues for persons with disabilities has been jointly organized by Punjabi University Patiala in collaboration with Speaking Hand Welfare Foundation. In today's webinar, we are privileged to have eminent dignitaries, Dr. Himanshu Das, Director NIPMIT, DPWD, MSNJ, Government of India, Dr. Ramesh Pandey, Director CRC Gorakhpur, DPWD, MSJ and Government of India, Mr. Parsh Gupta, IAS, Assistant Collector Begusarai, Bihar, Mr. Sumer Nair, Operation Head, Youth for Jobs Foundation, Mr. Saurabh Ray, Assistant Professor Special Education, Jamia Millia Islamia University, Delhi. Mr. Rajneesh Kumar Arya, TGT SET, Director of Education, GNCT Delhi, Founder CEO, Global Firm of Special Education, Rehabilitation Professional and Person with Disabilities. Mr. Shiva Jayagopal, Founder, Chairman, Vin Vinaya Foundation. Mr. Chaitanya Kothapalli, Founder and CEO, UNK Bangalore. Mr. Rahul Jain, Let's Sign Rajpura, Chief Operating Office, Unique Science School, Bangalore with us. We will be benefited by their rich experience which they will share with us. During the next 2 hours of this session, you are requested to kindly keep your gadgets, phones, laptops on mute mode and maintain good network connectivity so that you can make best use of this webinar. You are watching live this webinar on Facebook and YouTube. You can drop your comments, questions in comment box and we will take those questions at the end and you will be provided feedback form at the end after 2 p.m. and e-certificate also for this. Now I request Professor Dharamveer to please proceed for the next.
Hello, am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Very clear.
Okay, thanks a lot, Bhavna. Very good afternoon to all. It's a great collaborative initiative for generating awareness about employment opportunities available for persons with disability. I'm sure it will reach the maximum of the stakeholders and shall be beneficial for all. I heartily welcome Chief Guest Dr. Himanshu Das, Director, NIEPVD, Mrs. Gurmeet Kaur, President, Speaking Hands Welfare Foundation, Dr. Ramesh Pandey, Mr. Sparsh Gupta, Mr. Samir Nair, Mr. Saurabh Ray, Mr. Rajneesh Kumar Arya, Mr. Shiva Jayagopal, Mr. Chaitanya Kothapalli, Mr. Pargat Singh from Speaking Hands Welfare Foundation, all the sign interpreters, and all those who have joined through YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook Live. I hope all of you will be benefited by this great initiative. Thanks a lot. Over to Mr. Vishal. Over to Dr. Vishal for Dr. Vishal.
Yeah. So I think I am audible.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
You are audible.
Thank you. So I'm really thankful to Speaking Hands Welfare Foundation for this collaborative effort. Just for a few lines, I will be speaking about our research center that Vice Chancellor Dr. V.S. Ghuman has taken the initiative to establish one special center in our university, Research Center for Technology Development for Differently Abled People, which is established at the department level. So Department of Computer Science, Punjab University, Patiala, where this center has been. We have gone through number of activities, starting with the first activity on 11th March 2020, in which we have invited various students, teachers, and stakeholders from various special education schools from Patiala and Rajpura, in which we have discussed about the need of technology making their lives better. Then we had conducted one 8-week workshop for all the special educators that are teaching in the government schools, in which the training were given on various aspects to them. And after that, one test was taken, conducted, and if they have secured 70% of marks, so they have been awarded with the certificates. Otherwise, they have appeared for the test again and again. And after that, we have conducted one workshop for you can say the next initiative with the Speaking Hands Foundation, in which today we are discussing about the opportunities for the employment, and we have eminent speakers with us, and I am really thankful to Mr. Pragat Singh ji, who have taken the initiative and collected all the eminent personalities under one umbrella in this seminar. So tomorrow we will be celebrating Special Olympics Bharat Punjab chapter through this center only, where we will be releasing one very good software that has been developed under this center, that is automatic machine translation system from English text to Indian Sign Language animated videos. I think that will be the first working software for the translation system for this community. So we are hopeful we will be making available day after tomorrow. So it will be released tomorrow. And we have developed one announcement system for deaf and dumb that will be implemented at railway stations and airports. And this will be the first system in the world, I'll say, that has been implemented and will be workable. And I am hopeful that government will take initiatives to implement on railway stations and government from airports. So at the end, again, I'm thankful to Speaking Hands Welfare Foundation, Mrs. Gurmeet ma'am, who has always been with us for making initiatives through them, for making the efforts for giving the opportunities to the specially able children, for so that we can develop something for making their lives better. So thank you very much. Now over to the moderator, please.
Sparsh Gupta sir was All India topper in special category in CBSE 12th board 2010 and was facilitated with the president for the same. Later on, he has done BA LLB honors from National Law School of University Bangalore, went on an exchange program to Penalloy, USA, worked for Luthra and Luthra Law Offices, New Delhi as an associate, and ONGC Vadodara as assistant legal advisor for this. Sir is very passionate about promoting the rights of persons with disability community and their empowerment. Has conducted various workshops for people preparing for competitive exams. He is also a motivational speaker and looks forward to working for the community. Now I request sir to please proceed and enlighten us for this.
Thank you so much, Bhavna ji. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So good afternoon to all. I am grateful that I am a part of such esteemed group of dignitaries, and Speak Hands Welfare Foundation has given me an opportunity to share some views or experiences that I have in my little career, and enlighten the participants with my experiences. So as far as I'm concerned, I've been asked to discuss few of the avenues on employment for in the government sector. So I mean, as my profile suggests, I worked for ONGC for a bit, and then I have been working as an IS for the past year or so. And while preparing for 3-4 years, I was also preparing for other competitive exams. So I'm a little aware about how the government avenues have transitions for persons with disabilities over a period of time. So in terms of that, it's very important to understand why the government sector and the representation of PWDs in the same is significant, to say the least. So in terms of how the law has progressed, we had the 1996 Act, but it took a long time for it to get implemented, and people had to fight through. And I mean, you could see people coming up in the early 2000s, but it's only been, say, in the last 10 to 12 years that we see a lot of people coming in the government sector from our community. So it's very important to continue the trend, and considering the 2016 law that came up, I think it has given us a good flip towards generating more employment for persons with disability in the government sector. What it has also done is it's generated a lot of awareness due to the PR that was done by the government as well. So there's a lot of emphasis in the social media on promoting rights of the persons with disabilities and empowering them. So also one of the things to understand is education plays an important role, and overall personality is another factor which leads to generation of like more opportunities for employment for persons with disabilities. So it's important to recognize all those factors while we also look at what are the avenues that the government sector provides to us. I think it's generally applicable to all forms of employment for persons with disabilities. So as far as my understanding goes, since in terms of avenues which exist for persons with disabilities in the government sector, so there are multiple levels, and I mean, from say the SSC CGL exam, which provides you reservation there as well, and to various state service commissions conducting exams across India, and then of course you have your civil services, and then you have jobs in the PSUs. But a lot of these avenues are not accessible to everyone. Like a lot of the people I have come across are not really aware about all the avenues that exist. So it's very important that these get highlighted, and there is a need to promote such avenues that exist for persons with disabilities in the government sector. Also, the fact of the matter is the government sector is more lucrative for people like us, as we understand it, because it's certainly does provide us with stability in our jobs. And considering the unprecedented times of pandemic that we are seeing, and the kind of impact it has had overall in the society, the section the section which consists of persons with disability is hugely and vastly affected by the same. A lot of people have lost jobs, and people who are doing odd jobs have all been greatly affected, and people who are on the poverty line, or like, they are not well off, so they have been affected in a great way. So it's important also for us to take this forward and generate more and more awareness on this side, that there are these opportunities that exist, and also to push for reforms in terms of that the RPWD Act of 2016 gets implemented across the board, like it gets implemented at all levels. That is also very important. So I'm not saying that getting into the government job is the end of everything, because it's kind of filled with challenges. It's not something which is very easy. So because as you will know, you require merit, and there are a lot of stages that you need to clear, and there are all these competitive exams for which you have to prepare. and that has a set of challenges of their own. So basically, we really need to understand that how certain parameters can be set, and people can be skilled, educated, and trained in a manner that we are capable, and we get more and more opportunities across the board in the government sector. So considering the challenges that one faces, I mean, it's kind of understandable. For any competitive exams, you need to have accessible material. Then like for instance, I am a visually impaired person, so for any visually impaired person, you need material which is accessible, and so a lot of the time that becomes a huge problem. Then you need a scribe to write your answers, so that's kind of pretty difficult, as people who are from visually impaired background might know. So it becomes a huge challenge then appearing for the competitive exams. Then also the fact of the matter is the kind of guidelines and the kind of infrastructure that such exams are conducted in, because I mean, there is certain lack of awareness also among the grassroots, that what kind of facilities we need to have while the exams are being conducted. So in terms of that, UPSC is pretty, they have their own SOPs and own guidelines which they follow. So they are generally pretty competent in conducting the exams. As far as like my own experiences goes, and I have heard from other people as well who do appear in various other exams, there is so much inconsistency in the guidelines that we have across states that it becomes difficult for anyone to continue to persevere. So you would face challenges like the scribe will be provided by the center which you get for writing your exam, and then the quality of the scribe might not be of a quality that you need to be. So these are certain challenges, and then there are not proper arrangements that one would make, and these things are not highlighted to the people who are the decision makers. So that is something which needs to be highlighted across the board, and this has to be bring to the notice the people who are in the decision making in the higher rungs of the government, that we need to make these guidelines more consistent, and need to develop SOPs, and need to push these down at all levels, so that when the exams are being conducted and these guidelines have to be followed. And because what happens is it simply discourages people to then write these exams, and then the kind of representation that we need at the government level to bring about these changes which will make things accessible and include all sorts of people, this won't happen, or if it happens, it will take a long time. So for us to make things accessible for people, we really need to work on that side of things. Once you join in the government sector, then it has a challenge of its own, because I mean the lack of awareness that still exists among people, you cannot deny that, because so basically once you get into the services as well, so people, so we need to make that sort of awareness where while the training happens, and while you go into the field as well, it's sort of there are arrangements so that we can perform at the fullest. Because what happens is it's sort of based on my experiences as well, and then what I have also seen, like people, there are friends of mine from across disabilities when I was under training. So what I saw from their experiences, for instance, there's a friend of mine who has hearing issues, and people were really not aware about how to make her comfortable, and like what sort of efforts could be made so that she can also participate and understand what was being taught and given in the class. Because, and especially in these times when there is pandemic and everything has gone virtual, uh, I mean, the interpreters become really, really important, and those kind of things, if they don't exist and people are not aware about those, so it becomes a huge, huge challenge. And there are certain other things which really, really are important, that needs to be taken care of while we promote the avenues that we have and push people towards participating in the government sector. So I mean, also I am not like, I have seen people getting over all these challenges, and certain, there are so many examples that we have in even in the government service and across the board, not even only in civil services, but other government sectors as well. Then, like, I have worked in PSU as well, so it also provides you with a good platform to live basically a good life and contribute in a good manner to the society. So basically, like, government jobs do provide you a certain level of job security, as well as an opportunity to contribute in a big way to the society in general, and what you're passionate about, or bring about certain changes for your own community, and be an example for the upcoming generations, that things are possible from and uh, if efforts are being made in the right direction, things can pretty well change pretty quickly. And with the kind of technology that we have at our disposal right now, I don't think anything is impossible. So we really need to look at certain points which I highlighted in my speech, so highlighted in my talk, basically working on certain guidelines that we have, and working on certain infrastructural challenges that we still face. And I think once those bottlenecks are resolved, I don't see there being any hurdles in increasing the representation which is required for generating more employment in the government sector for the PWDs, and which will in turn result in an overall empowerment of persons with disabilities at a much wider scale. Uh, I think that will be all from my side. Thank you so much. Uh,
Thank you, sir, for your golden words. Now, I would like to invite our next speaker, Mr. Samir Nair. Sir heads one of the flagship program of Youth for Jobs Foundation, which focuses on skilling and linking less educated youth with disabilities in sustainable livelihood across India, currently with presence in 28 states across India, have trained and placed 23,000 plus youth, mostly from remote village in India, have partnered with more than 680 plus corporate across India to place youth with disabilities in various roles, with vision of providing job to youth nearer to their homes. He, along with the team, are constantly doing local market scan to create job opportunities for the youth. We all would like to hear and gain knowledge from sir. Sir, please welcome.
Thank you, Bhavana. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible, loud and clear.
Yeah. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate this forum for organizing collaboratively with educators, the youth, and the other stakeholders, and creating a platform for talking about the youth with disabilities. I've been asked to talk about employment opportunity in private sector, but before that, I would try to take you through the journey of Youth for Jobs, which is more inspirational and which caters to more of the private sector jobs. So Youth for Jobs Foundation was started in the year 2012 by Ms. Meera Shinoy, who has unique experience of working in senior positions and also working in the World Bank, UNDP, mostly in the Southeast Asia. If you look at Youth for Jobs Foundation, it is, as I mentioned, it is 8-year young, and we have scaled up from one state to 28 states now, and we have in fact educated more than skilled more than 23,000 youth and placed them across India. So if you look at the core values of Youth for Job, we stand in for our core belief that belief in potential of poor, and a job to one person with disability in a poor family will take an entire family out of the poverty. We have multiple programs spread across India. Our program basically which caters to the villages is called as Village Connect program, wherein we have already advocated around 6.7 million households, catered to 9,000 plus villages, where we have where we have created advocacy in terms of sending across a message of ability and disability. And we basically cater to majorly three kind of disabilities: locomotor disability, speech and hearing impaired, and low vision. So what we do typically once we create this advocacy at the village level, we also try to counsel the youth to get skilled, because once you get skilled, then the opportunity of getting into the job is more easier. So we have a WISE program, which is basically for the less educated youth, where we target the youth from the rural, remote villages. We train and then we place them in the private sector jobs. So that is where we have seen the most of the opportunities coming from the private sector, and we are able to link them with the private sector opportunities. Yes, the COVID has come in between, and there has been a lot of challenges which has come across, where we have seen the classroom trainings being suspended, then the online training program coming into the picture, and the online training program having its own challenges, wherein the youth would not have a net connectivity, would not have a smartphone, or would not have the comfort of learning from the home. But we have overcome those challenges, and we have moved from the pre-COVID scenario of classroom training program to the online training program. We also have a College Connect program which focuses on the graduate youth who are basically connected with the engineering, science background, commerce background. We are connected with 4 universities, 15 colleges, and we train almost 1,000 plus youth in that area. Again, we link them with the quality job in the private sectors, basically focusing on the sectors which is available. We also have a program which focuses on the companies, wherein we connect with the corporates and we ensure that we provide services which is helpful in terms of not only for the organization but also for the youth. We conduct a lot of sensitization workshops, we do role mapping, we do accessible audit, which helps not only the company, as I mentioned, but it also helps the youth in getting jobs. For the fact of the matter, in fact, we have connected with 2,500 companies across India, and out of that, at any point of time, there are 650 odd companies who are interested in hiring throughout the year. We also have a VI training center where we focus on the training of visually impaired youth, because we understand the challenges faced by the visually impaired, and also we understand the opportunities and challenges which they go through when it comes to the placement. So we also focus on the VI part as well as part of the training program. We also have a couple of schools where we do training for speech and hearing impaired and locomotor disability. Our program has been getting a lot of awards. In fact, we are the 2-time winners of Global Innovation Award, Zero Project. We are also MIT Asia winner. We also got National Award from President of India. And the best part is that the online training which we started the post-COVID has been considered as one of the best practices in the disability sector, and UNICEF has treated our online services as one of the best practices. Now, as I mentioned, that the COVID has gotten challenges, and we had to move from the online, from the classroom training program to the online training program. This also comes with the added information that the placements has also moved away from the online, the one-on-one meetings to the online or virtual mode. Now, if you look at the private sector job, as the previous speaker, Mr. Gupta, was talking about, there was a survey which was done a couple of years back, and which says that 0.28% of the youth with disabilities are working in private sector compared to 0.54% in the public sector. And it is there's a WHO report which also says that 87% of the PW in India work in an informal sector. Now, what does it mean? One is basically there are organizations, there are a lot of companies which are coming up in a large numbers in the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities across India. The only change which has happened is, the sectors keep on changing. As the time moves on, the sectors keep on changing. So if you look at the pre-COVID scenario, the sectors which were hiring were basically into the retail, hospitality, BPO. But if you look at the post-COVID scenarios, because as you know that the demand from home for getting things to their home has moved, so you see a lot of hiring happening in e-commerce, a lot of hiring happening in manufacturing. Slowly, the retails have started coming up because retails also have started getting into the home delivery part. So in fact, if you look at the opportunities in the private sector, there is opportunity, but sectors keeps on changing based on the scenarios, based on the time, based on the locations where we operate in. Now, if you look at the private sector jobs, it can be not taken into consideration a three-dimensional approach. When I say three-dimensional approach, one is the entry-level jobs, which are sought after jobs at major locations in and across India. And so, if you look at the opportunities available, we have seen that there are almost 400 plus cities in India or towns in India which has an opportunity in the private sector jobs. So that's the entry-level jobs which can be opted for in the private sector. Second is the mid-level job or the supervisory job where they are supposed to take care of a group of team members, which could be disabled, non-disabled put together. And third is the specialized jobs, basically for the graduates coming out from the engineering background or a specific background as such. Now, if you look at the job roles, what you have in this three-dimensional approach is one is the entry-level jobs, which would be basically on two sides. One is the customer front, customer facing, and second is behind the screen, that is the back-end operations. The customer-facing jobs would require the skill set, which would more or less to be do with the customer services, and the back-end job would have something to do with the logistics, documentation, and all. So why I'm specifying this is because the skill set which is required for both the roles are completely different. So the youth who is interested in getting into such a kind of roles have to get skilled in those specific roles. If it is customer specific role, the youth has to understand about customer service, the customer experience, and retaining the customer. If it is a back-end job, the documentation becomes more important. So the youth should understand, apart from the portable skill set of having the life skills, soft skills, English, they need to possess the digital skill set also. That is where we in fact, train our youth in the portable skill sets. Apart from English, life skills, soft skills, we also train the digital skill set. And we also ensure that we do a sector skill orientation. What I mean by sector orientation is where each sector has its own job roles, it has its own way of functioning. Ensure that the youth understands the opportunities, understands the scenario, understands the sector better. One of the things which we've seen in the private sector jobs, more and more companies are also offering freebies to ensure that they can retain the youth with disabled. Now, I've seen some sectors, some companies in the same sector providing free food, free accommodation, free transportation, so that they can retain the youth with disability. Now, why are they doing so? If you ask me, this clearly makes a business sense for them rather than emotional approach towards the youth with disability. Why it is a business sense? Because if you look at the youth with disability, the attrition rate is less, their absenteeism is less, the productivity is high because they don't do the other activities which generally they see in the non-disabled side. So even the organizations, the sectors, the private sector organizations are looking in for ensuring that the youth with disabilities are hired more and more. Now, there are two things to it. One is the youth should also understand that the opportunities may not be near to their hometowns. but they may have to travel 5 kilometers, 6 kilometers to ensure that they get this particular job. Having said this, all these sector jobs which are at the entry level also has a promotional approach or as a career-based growth. Once they get into this organization, because of their hard work and the productivity, they can grow up the ladder very soon. Yes, there are a lot of organizations which requires a lot of sensitization because policy is taken at the top level, but when it reaches to the bottom, there are some hesitant guys to take the youth with disability. But with a lot of sensitization workshops, with sensitizing the representative of the companies at the bottom level who hire, there are chances of more and more youth with disability getting into the job. Considering the changes which has resulted in the entire environment, the creation of identifying values, once they get into this organization, previously marginalized has changed. Now they see some important belief and value in youth with disability. So earlier who was treated as marginalized, now they see as a value for the organization. I see that most of the private sector organizations have slowly started seeing disability as a material contributor to the profitability of a company. Earlier, most of them, when they were hiring, they had this fear of thinking, they would be liable to the organization. But today, they see as an asset, and they see profitability increasing on hiring a youth with disability. Before I end, I also would like to state that we also need to bridge a gap and create a platform where the youth with disabilities can come together, they can understand the opportunities available. So if you look at the pan-India geography, as I was talking about that we have around 400 cities where we have opportunities. If you scan those cities, each city has its own flavor in terms of opportunities. You may see some location having high opportunity in manufacturing. You may see tier town having high opportunity in logistics. Some areas you will see the opportunities coming from automotive industry. So there's an opportunity, but we need to grab onto the opportunity, and we need to ensure that youth are rightfully skilled for those opportunities. So with this optimistic view that youth with disabilities would get jobs into private sector with rightful skill, I would thank once again the organizers for allowing me to talk on this great platform about the opportunity for youth with disability working in private sector. So thanks Speaking Hands for providing me this opportunity once again. And thanks Amresh for interpreting this very well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your experience with us. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Now, moving to the next, I would like to invite Mr. Rajneesh Kumar Arya, founder, CEO, Global Firm of Special Educator Rehabilitation Professional and Person with Disabilities. Currently, sir is working as TGT, SET, Directorate of Education, GNCT Delhi, and closely associated with a number of NGOs and DPOs working for empowerment of persons with disabilities since last 10 years. I request to the sir, please come and share his views.
Very good afternoon to one and all. I want to extend my thanks to the entire team of Speaking Hands Welfare Foundation along with the Punjabi University Patiala for organizing such a nice program or webinar on the topic of employment avenues for the person with disabilities. I want to extend my thanks to Bhavna as well as the Pragat for providing the utmost the opportunity to be here. I want to just keep my facts about the person with disabilities and their challenges, what they are facing right now. It is well known that 3rd December is a significant day for millions of persons with disabilities across the globe, and it has been marked as the International Day of Persons with Disabilities by the United Nations since 1992. It has been almost near about 28 years since the United Nations General Assembly adopted the Resolution 47/3 to mark this day. But not only in India but across the globe, there is a huge gap between person with disabilities and the employment. Whenever we are talking about person with disability is not a single term, it is an umbrella term without the respect of their different abilities and the impairment and other kind of the health associated problems. If we have a look, we usually find that person with disabilities have lower education, have poorer health conditions, have higher poverty rate and less economic engagement than the persons without disabilities. Persons with disabilities are considered as one of the marginalized group of the whole world. As per the World Bank data, the total number of persons with disabilities in India would be near about 40 to 80 millions. But I am sorry to say, as per the census of India in 2011, it is just 26 or 26.8 millions. So you may assume that there is a huge gap between the data. And in any country, if we are talking about the planning or such type of the thing, there is need of the accurate data or the information. And you assume that still something is missing in this very process. In my individual opinion, 3E is very important in the life of person with disabilities. First E, that is the education. Second one, that is the empowerment. And third one, that is the employment. If we go on some specific kind of the reservations provided by the government in the roster, the first one goes for the person with visual impairment. The second one goes for the person with hearing impairment. And the third one goes for the person with the physical disabilities up to the 1995 Act. In RPWD Act 2016, we have got 1 more % of the reservation, that is for the person with autism or SLD. So if we see, thanks to the new education policy in which we have talked about the employment or vocational courses since the class 6. Earlier, we were doing the advocacy to include it at least from the level of class 8. It has been seen that in case of person with disabilities, especially of the visual impairment and person with hearing impairment, usually most of the students even did not complete their secondary exams, or those who have completed, they usually filter after 12th. As per the data being provided by the NCPEDP in 2014, it has been mentioned that only 0.5% seats of the reserved seats across the universities in the India is just fulfilled by the person with disabilities. It means the seats which has been earmarked for the person with disabilities is still vacant near about 4.5%. So just you simply imagine that there is a huge gap between the secondary education to the higher education. And as per the RTI, which has been furnished by the DOPT, Government of India, it has been stated that there is 32,58,663 employee under the central government. And if we talk about the just 3% of the reservation, it was the RTI before the 2000 implementation of RPWD Act. So just we have calculated the reserve seat as per 3%, it would be near about 99,759. But you will be surprised to know that from this much seat, that is 99,759, only 22,722 seats have been fulfilled under the category of person with disability. It is really a poor data. It means still there is a backlog of near about 75,000 seats. And just you see that this is the scenario of the central government. You may just imagine about the state governments and the various other institutions who usually provide the opportunity to the person with disabilities. You may see, I have been gone through, I have been associated to a number of DPOs. Some of the trainees usually approach me with their demand that one of the students has shown me its marks about the IBPS clerk exam, and he showed that he has got the cutoff of 60%, which is equivalent to the general candidate, but the cutoff of person with disabilities goes up to 80% of that very in the regard of that one. So it is just the violation of the Supreme Court guideline as well as the other guideline issued time to time by MSJE and the other higher institutions. There is no any regularity, there is no any authenticity, and there is no any such provisions who has a close eye even on the rosters or the backlog of the person with disability in the government sector. I want to extend thanks to Mr. Raspers and Mr. Samir, who have been the earlier speaker to me. They have clearly mentioned the efforts done to give the job opportunities. Just you see that maximum of the special schools or the inclusive education schools are available in the town areas, and most of the persons with disabilities are from the rural areas. It is just a mismatch of 80-20. It means 80% of persons with disabilities come from the rural areas, but the facilities of all kind is available there just of 20%. And in the urban areas, especially in the class 1 cities, that is A grade cities, there is 80% facilities and 20% person with disabilities are residing. So only we are seeing a bright side of this aspect, which is easily visible in the cities. Still, persons with disabilities of the rural areas are in the dark side. They are still struggling for their basic amenities or basic rights. Just to simply imagine that even in schools, there is no provision of providing the vocational education, and in some school, if there is provision of providing the vocational education, the quality of vocational education which has been provided there is so poor that the person with disabilities or the students with disabilities who are getting the training there are not up to the mark which is required in the market. So in spite of having the vocational degree or the vocational training, maximum of the youths with disabilities are unemployed. So we have to be talk frequently, not only to talk. We have to thanks to the government of India that before 2006, persons with disabilities were not even considered the human resource. In 2006, Government of India, in a rule, Person with Disability Act 2006, first time it has been mentioned that the person with disabilities will be considered as the human resources. And since then, right now, that is near about 14 years, there are so many NGOs, DPOs, even the government agencies who claim to provide the skill training and the other thing to the person with disabilities, but still there is a great mismatch between the demand and the supply of the job opportunities to the person with disabilities. So after having these things, I want to conclude my views that we have to be fair to provide the opportunity to the person with disabilities, not only at the government sector, but also we have to come with much and more opportunity in public and the private sector. There is need, there is time to join hand to keep the voice at the different platform in the favor of person with disability, so that they may get engaged in their day-to-day life to get some economic activity. I'm just mentioning some economic activity, because at what pace we are moving right now, it will take another 10 to 20 years to synthesize the government authorities as well as the different other stakeholders to keep the person with disabilities in the mainstream of their workforce. Thank you to the speaking hands and the Amresh for being the interpreter here. And after having these words, I want to conclude, and thanks and the best wishes to the entire team. Over to the moderator.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening us and sharing your views with us. Now, continuing our webinar, I would like to invite our next speaker, Saurabh Roy, Sir is working as Assistant Professor, Special Education Visual Impairment, Faculty of Education, Jamia Millia Islamia University, Delhi. Sir has 5 years of teaching experience, visiting expert of Rehabilitation Council India team, expert member of Bureau of Indian Standards of Special Committee, Vice President of Uttar Pradesh Cricket Association for the Blind. Sir has published 8 chapters, 2 research papers, 2 research articles, 1 article, 6 abstract publication in edited books, research journal, conference, souvenir, magazine and conference reports. We all would like to hear and gain knowledge from sir. Please welcome sir.
Hello, I am audible.
Yes, sir, you're audible, loud and clear.
थैंक यू। मैं सभी को नमस्कार करता हूं और इस वेबिनार के आयोजन समिति के सभी सदस्यों को धन्यवाद देता हूं। आपका जो टॉपिक है ये बहुत रिलेवेंट है आज के समय में, इस पेंडेमिक और जहां रिसेशन और जॉब्स को खतरा चल रहा है सभी के लिए, वहां पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटीज की जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज के बारे में बात करने पर बहुत बड़ा एक जो गैप ऑलरेडी हम 30 इयर्स के स्ट्रगल से इंक्लूजन को बनाने और जॉब्स क्रिएशंस के लिए स्ट्रगल कर रहे थे, उसके दौरान अब इस कंडीशन में इस चीज पर बात करना बहुत जरूरी हो जाता है। जरूरी यह भी है कि हम यह भी समझें कि देश के पॉलिसी और पॉलिसी एंड रियलिटी में क्या फर्क है। हमारे यहाँ पॉलिसीज बहुत सारी हैं और रियलिटी एकदम उसके विपरीत या उल्टी है। मतलब बिल्कुल आप समझ लीजिए कि आप रियलिटी को फेस करते हैं तो आपको ये लगता है कि शायद पॉलिसी बनाने वालों ने या तो गलत किया या पॉलिसी को सही से इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं किया जा रहा है। अगर मैं सबसे पहले बात करूं तो कंटिन्यूएशन में बात करते हैं, जो हमारे इससे पहले हमारे स्पीकर्स ने कहा, बहुत अच्छी तरह से उन्होंने हर चीज को बताया, अपॉर्चुनिटीज को बताया और क्या क्या गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने और स्टेट गवर्नमेंट ने और जितने भी पब्लिक सेक्टर यूनिट्स हैं, डीपीओज हैं, पब्लिक सेक्टर और प्राइवेट सेक्टर और गवर्नमेंट सेक्टर में जितना काम किया जा रहा है, बहुत अच्छी तरह से उन्होंने एक्सप्लेन किया। अगर हम सबसे पहली बात करें तो पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटीज के लिए जॉब्स हैं क्या या पोस्ट हैं क्या, इसकी बात कह सकते हैं। 2013 के बाद आइडेंटिफिकेशन ऑफ पोस्ट फॉर पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटीज आज तक हुआ ही नहीं। आइडेंटिफिकेशन ऑफ पोस्ट बहुत जरूरी है कि एक बार दोबारा रिवाइज किया जाए, क्योंकि 2016 के एक्ट आने के बाद अब एमडी एक कैटेगरी रिजर्वेशन में बढ़ी है, जिसमें एमडी लोगों के लिए कौन कौन सी पोस्ट आइडेंटिफाइड की जाएं, ये बहुत जरूरी है। जैसा कि अभी रिजर्वेशन के बारे में इससे पहले हमारे साथी और स्पीकर्स भी बात कर रहे थे, तो मैं यहाँ पर एक रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया के आरटीआई में निकले एक नतीजे को भी रेफर करना चाहूंगा कि उन्होंने आज तक जो भी पोस्ट निकाली हैं, जितने भी एडवर्टाइजमेंट दिए 2016 के एक्ट के अकॉर्डिंग, उसमें उन्होंने एक भी पोस्ट एमडी के लिए फुलफिल ही नहीं की है। रीजन उनके पास बहुत सारे हैं, तर्क उनके पास बहुत सारे हैं, लेकिन एक भी पोस्ट एमडी के लिए फुलफिल नहीं हो पाई है। तो उनके लिए जो पोस्ट आइडेंटिफाइड ही नहीं कर पा रहे हैं लोग, वो उनके लिए पोस्ट फुलफिल कैसे कर पाएंगे। तो आइडेंटिफिकेशन ऑफ पोस्ट बहुत जरूरी है, क्योंकि आज 2013 में जो लास्ट हुआ था तो आज 2020 है। बहुत सारे पोस्ट बढ़ गए हैं, बहुत सारी न्यू एराज हैं, स्टार्टअप्स आ गए हैं, नए नए इवेंट्स हो रहे हैं आपके, जिसके अंदर काफी सारे पोस्ट क्रिएट हुए हैं, न्यू पोस्ट क्रिएट हुई हैं, कई सारी पोस्ट खत्म हो चुकी हैं और उनका काम बदल चुका है टेक्नोलॉजी एरा में। तो अब ये देखना होगा, और टेक्नोलॉजी पर पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटी ने भी बहुत अच्छा पकड़ बनाई है, और इसलिए ये देखना होगा कि अब वो कौन कौन सी पोस्ट पर बहुत अच्छी तरह से काम कर सकते हैं। तो इसीलिए सबसे पहले भारत सरकार और जितने भी संस्थाएं हैं उनको ये प्रयास करना चाहिए कि आइडेंटिफिकेशन जरूर हो जाए दोबारा से एक बार जितनी भी पोस्ट हैं उनका, ताकि पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटीज की जो नया रिजर्वेशन है उसके अकॉर्डिंग एमडी के लिए भी आइडेंटिफिकेशन हो पोस्ट का, और बाकी जो और जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज हैं वो भी बढ़ेगी, क्योंकि पोस्ट भी बढ़ी हैं और हमारे पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटी की एबिलिटीज भी बढ़ गई। दूसरी बात अगर मैं कहूं तो दूसरा चीज होता है जिसे हम कहते हैं रोस्टर। रिजर्वेशन सबसे लास्ट में मैं उस पर बात करूंगा। रोस्टर होता है कि आपने कितनी पोस्ट आपके यहाँ हैं और उसमें आप कहाँ कहाँ पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटी को फिक्स कर रहे हो, और रोस्टर में ये करते हैं कि आप लगातार बदलते रहते हैं कि हर डिपार्टमेंट में पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटी को हम जगह दे सकें। हमारे जितने भी इंस्टीट्यूट के या यूनिवर्सिटी के या कंपनी के या गवर्नमेंट सेक्टर के या ऑफिसेस के जितने भी डिपार्टमेंट हैं, हर जगह पर सर्कुलेशन उनका किया जा सके, उनको सर्कुलेट किया जा सके। लेकिन ऐसा रोस्टर बनाने का जो है वो मैं जितना जानता हूँ, और मैंने बहुत सारे यूनिवर्सिटीज और डिपार्टमेंट्स और ऑफिसेस में भी जाकर जानकारी ली है, तो वहां पर रोस्टर आज तक कभी बने ही नहीं, और वो रोस्टर जो बने भी थे वो फॉलो नहीं हुए। तो ये सबसे जरूरी है कि जो भी इस फील्ड में इस तरह के इनिशिएटिव ले रहे हैं कि जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज क्रिएट हों और अच्छी तरह से उनको जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज मिले पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटीज को, उनको इस तरह भी प्रयास करना चाहिए कि हर डिपार्टमेंट और हर ऑफिस और हर सिस्टम और हर ऐसे जितनी भी यूनिट्स हैं जो जॉब क्रिएट करती हैं, जॉब प्रोवाइड करती हैं, वो अपने डिपार्टमेंट या ऑफिसेस के जॉब रोस्टर्स तैयार करें, ताकि ऑफिशियल्स को भी क्लियर होता रहे, क्योंकि उनको कई बार अवेयरनेस ही नहीं होती है। थर्ड चीज पे बात करूंगा, उसे कहते हैं बैकलॉग। इससे पहले भी हमारे साथी स्पीकर ने कहा था कि बहुत सारे बैकलॉग बचा हुआ है, 75,000 से अधिक उन्होंने बताया, लेकिन उनकी जानकारी शायद गवर्नमेंट के डाटा से है, लेकिन अगर आप 1995 एक्ट के अकॉर्डिंग देखेंगे तो 1995 एक्ट के से आज तक जितनी भी इस देश में किसी भी सेक्टर में जॉब क्रिएट हुई है, उसमें अगर 3% रिजर्वेशन के हिसाब से देख लिया जाए, और उसके बाद 2016 का एक्ट जब से एक्टिव हुआ है, उसके बाद से 4% रिजर्वेशन देख लिया जाए, और उसमें कितने पोस्ट पर डिसेबल्ड को जॉब दी गई हैं, उसके बाद अगर आप डाटा निकालेंगे तो वो लाखों में आएगा। शायद जितने डिसेबल्ड इस वक्त हिंदुस्तान में मौजूद हों जो लायक हों किसी भी जॉब के, वो ऑटोमेटिकली प्लेस्ड हो जाएंगे, इतनी जॉब बैकलॉग में निकल जाएंगी, क्योंकि आज तक कभी भी प्रॉपरली जॉब प्रोवाइड की ही नहीं गई पर्सन विद डिसेबल्स को, और या तो उसमें अवेयरनेस की कमी थी या जानबूझकर किया गया या वो एक गलती थी, उसकी बात की बात है। लास्ट चीज आती है रिजर्वेशन। तो रिजर्वेशन आप वर्टिकल और हॉरिजॉन्टल में आप जब रिजर्वेशन को बांटते हैं तो उस तरीके से पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटीज को कभी भी उनके जो एबिलिटीज हैं उनको देखकर कभी दिया नहीं जाता। मैक्सिममली रिजर्वेशन का फायदा देने में हमारा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल राइट होने के बावजूद भी कि हमारा वेरी नहीं करेगा, हमें कम नहीं करने दिया जाएगा, बहुत सारे टेक्निकल टर्म्स निकाल करके पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटीज को जॉब राइट्स से दूर कर दिया जाता है। इसीलिए ये बहुत जरूरी है, और जो हमारी कमिश्नर्स हैं वो इस पर पूरा ध्यान रखें कि ऐसे जो भी यूनिट्स या जो भी सेक्टर्स हैं, जो ऑफिशियल्स हैं जो ऐसा कर रहे हैं, उन्हें उन पर पाबंदी लगाई जाए, और जॉब्स प्रोवाइड और जॉब्स क्रिएशन में ज्यादा से ज्यादा काम किया जाए। मैं गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देना चाहूंगा कि गवर्नमेंट बनाई है, प्रिंसिपल्स बहुत अच्छे हैं और आपका वर्क बहुत बढ़िया है पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटी की जॉब क्रिएशन में। लेकिन गलती है उन अधिकारियों की और उन कर्मचारियों की जो इसे सही तरीके से इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं करते हैं। और मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा उन लोगों से जो इस क्षेत्र में आरटीआई और मूवमेंट के द्वारा काम कर रहे हैं, वो कोशिश करें कि ऐसे जो भी लोग हैं वो आरपीडब्ल्यूडी एक्ट के अब क्रिमिनलाइज ऑप्शन भी मौजूद हैं जो पीडब्ल्यूडी को परेशान करने या उनके साथ किसी भी तरह का अपमानजनक व्यवहार करने या उनके राइट्स को छीनने वालों को आपराधिक धाराओं में सजा दिलवाने तक की आपको शक्ति या पावर देती हैं। तो आप प्रयास करें कि कोई भी ऐसा गलत व्यक्ति या अधिकारी हो तो उसे अवश्य सजा मिले और मैक्सिमम से मैक्सिमम जॉब क्रिएशन और अपॉर्चुनिटीज पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटी को मिले। लास्ट में यही कंक्लूड करूंगा अपने वर्ड्स के साथ कि पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटी को जॉब के अकॉर्डिंग ना तो एजुकेशन मिलती है, ना तो उनके लिए जो जॉब क्रिएशन ही होती है, और ना ही जॉब क्रिएट होने के बाद उसको जॉब प्रोवाइड करने के लिए प्रॉपर इम्प्लीमेंटेशन होती है। तो हर मोड पर बैरियर और एक्सेसिबिलिटी के लिए, बैरियर को तोड़ने के लिए और एक्सेसिबिलिटी बनाने के लिए काम करने की जरूरत है। और उसके लिए समाज के प्रत्येक वर्ग, प्रत्येक व्यक्ति, प्रत्येक प्राधिकारी या अधिकारी या अथॉरिटी को कार्य करने की आवश्यकता है। और हर व्यक्ति को यह समझने की आवश्यकता है कि जीवन जीने और जीवन में कार्य करने का अधिकार समाज के प्रत्येक व्यक्ति का है, प्रत्येक वर्ग का है और उसे वह मिलना चाहिए। आप अगर उसे वह अवसर देंगे तो समाज का विकास अवश्य होगा। धन्यवाद। ओवर टू मॉडरेटर। Over to moderator, sir. I'm audible?
Yes. Yeah, we are waiting for the moderator to appear on the screen.
Yes.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for your golden words. Now, I would like to invite our next speaker, Mr. Shiva Jayagopal, founder. Yes, sir.
Wonderful.
Yes, a lot of.
Oh, thank you. Just give me 1 second. I think we are going slightly earlier, I think. Okay. Yeah. Hi, my name is Shiva Jayagopal, founder chairman of Winvinia Foundation. And in Winvinia Foundation, we focus on training persons with disabilities in various skills, and including English, Java, SQL, soft skills, and we try to place them in various companies like Wipro, JP Morgan, HP, Dell, startups, mid-sized companies, and all that, right? In the past few years, we have trained about close to 400 students, a combination of persons who are deaf, persons with the low vision, persons with locomotive disability, and we have placed them in different companies. And we also can, about 8 months back, we came out with an online digital learning platform, which we are calling it as Vinmania Academy, right? So the next speaker, Chaitanya, who runs Uniki, and the Uniki and Vinmania Foundation, we partnered, and we came out with multiple programs, which is helping persons who are deaf across India, right? So that is one thing that we are doing. So what I would like to do today is to kind of show a small demo about what the Vinmania Academy does. And this is something that we want to roll it out to the students of Speaking Hands Foundation as well. As you can see, this is the Vinmania Academy, wherein we are talking about multiple courses. We have courses in English, which is right now, we keep improving our courses. Now it is in version 3.0. These for persons who are hearing. And we also have courses in Indian Sign Language. We have courses for soft skills in Indian Sign Language and soft skills for hearing people. We also have courses in MySQL, which is about databases in ISL. We have courses in Java, which is, this for the hearing persons. And we also have courses in Java for ISL. Right? So for today, what I thought was I will show you a short demo about how we have structured our courses for English, right? As you all know, when we try to place deaf candidates into various companies, one of the major important consideration from the company is that the deaf students should be in a position to understand English, and they should also communicate through email, through WhatsApp, through SMS and everything, right? So their understanding skill should be very good, and the written skills should be very good. These are the two things that they look for, right? And every course in Vinmania Academy has 3 modules, right? So the first module, we call it as I Learn, and then we have I Practice, right? So as you can see in the English course, it starts all the way from the basics, like nouns, pronouns, verbs, tenses and all that. We also teach them how to understand, right? So this is the reading comprehension. There are multiple ways in which you can comprehend. We also help them with writing, how to write emails, how to text through WhatsApp or SMS, how to create a resume, how to fill up application forms. So we try to make it slightly more holistic as much as possible to the candidates who are deaf, right? So for this demo, because we have less time, what I would like to do is to take one particular thing, which is about reading comprehension, and I want to show you as to how our students learn, right? And also how to show you a demo about I Practice, and I will also tell you what ISS means, right? So I Learn is all about micro learning videos, which means that whatever people want to learn, it's all about short videos. It's not like 1 hour video or something like that. It is all about just a few minutes. For example, this particular video is about close to 6 minutes.
Finding answers to questions may be difficult as there may be different keywords in the question. To help you answer, there are 5 methods that can help. It may be easy for all of you to learn and practice. For example, have a look at this. Firstly, it is important to identify the main idea from keywords, or the main activity from the passage.
Right? So you get the idea. So I'm not sure whether, through this learning platform, you're able to even hear the voice. But what we have done is to keep these videos as inclusive as possible, right? So number one, Rahul, whom you all know, he is the person who's signing in these videos. That is the first thing. And the second thing is you have a lot of text that comes in. And the third is there is an audio, which also helps because there are certain people who are hard of hearing, but with hearing aid, they can also hear. So we are trying to keep it as inclusive as possible. So this is the first thing. Whenever we talk about iLearn, all the videos will have a structure like this, whatever we have created in Winmini Academy, right? So there's the iLearn piece. The second one, we go to what we call as iPractice. Now the student has learned something through these videos, right? And the most important thing after learning is to practice as much as possible, right? So we are giving them multiple question sets. So this is set 1. You can see that there are set 2, set 3, and set 4, right? So if you look at whatever we have in Winmini Academy, it's very likely that you will find that most of the courses have 90% practice and 10% theory, right? So that's the way we have structured it. So for example, here, there is a passage which is given to them, and there are multiple questions. So we expect the candidate to read this entire thing, understand that, and then click on these questions, right? And these are all simple objective questions. We also have mechanism in which, in addition to these multiple choice questions, they can also write some answers. They can write in text so that a trainer who's an English trainer can look at it and they can also help them correct it. But in this particular question paper, all the questions that you're seeing is basically multiple choice questions, right? So let us say I click on one particular thing and I want to see what is the answer, right? So, then it may tell me whatever I chose, is it correct or wrong, right? In this case, whatever I chose happened to be correct, right? So similarly, you'll find every other set in iPractice in the same way. When it comes to the difference between iPractice and iAssess, right? Both are basically evaluating the whatever they learned, right? The difference is when you talk about iAssess, right? There is also a time limit that is given to the candidates, right? So for example, there are multiple questions here, right? So for finishing of all these different questions, the candidate is given about 40 minutes. Whenever candidates after our training, when they go to an interview, let us say in a company, just for our purpose, we'll say, okay, now let us say they go to Wipro. Wipro might say, okay, now this is the online test that you got to take. There are certain questions in aptitude, certain questions in English, certain questions in coding, right? So accordingly, for English, they might have given some time. So we want our candidates to get used to that kind of situation, right? So that when they go to an interview, they don't, think that, okay, now in practice, they took 1 hour to solve this, but suddenly the time that is given to them is only about 40 minutes, right? So we want to ensure that whatever happens in the selection process, the candidates have a perspective about learning through this, right? So that is what we do. So we have this iLearn, iPractice, iAssess. This is from a student perspective. Is there anybody who would like to know certain things about Java or SQL, or can I show you as to how teacher would see these results and everything? So Chait, would you know, would they be interested in Java, or probably we can show them the dashboard? All right. So I'll just take another couple of minutes, probably to, show you, even though I showed the English, maybe I can show you if a person has taken Java in Indian Sign Language, so this is the kind of dashboard, that the trainers will see, right? And because I get that admin access, I'm able to see that, okay, now across all courses, and be it Java, be it English or something like that. But a Java trainer will see all the different batches. And so for our thing, we can probably think that, okay, now these are all different classes, like 10th standard or 12th standard or something like that. Here we have different batches, right? So let us say, we are talking about one particular batch, and we want to see as to how the students have taken the Java class, as to how well they are doing it, and is there anything that the trainer needs to do to check and help them do better, right? If that is the case, and this is one thing that I use very often, what we call as the heat grid, right? So this is, and if you look at all these four people are persons with hearing impairment. They are deaf students, and they have taken this Java courses. And if you look here, I was telling you that there is iLearn and iPractice and ISS. Whatever you see as quiz is basically part of the iLearn part. No, sorry, iPractice part. And let me look at. There are additional quizzes. As I told you, there is a lot of problems which are out here, which is what will make it interesting. And when we work with many of the candidates, the candidates could be deaf, they could be persons with local impairment or whatever. What we have realized is that the candidates really like doing the coding. They want a lot of exercises, right? And that is the way they learn the best. So what I've done is, for one particular person, I have chosen, for example, Monica Raj. I've chosen this particular report, which shows this person has got 100% in all these different problems, right? Now let us say we are talking about sum of ASCII values, and I want to see what Monica Raj has created, right? So through this dashboard, you can easily see that this person has compiled this program for 9 times. He executed 4 times. He did that a couple of months back, and this whole thing is written in Java. He has taken approximately 16 minutes, for him to write this particular code. And this is the problem that was given to him. There was sample input and output that was also given. This is the actual code, that Monica Raj has written. And just like HackerRank, which has inbuilt test conditions, and there are multiple test cases, and it will automatically check this. So this is not checked by a human person. It is automatically checked by the by the platform to see whether the expected output and the actual output that they got by running this program, if they are same. If they are same, then it says it is passed, right? So what we are trying to do through this platform, which is Winmania Academy, is number one, help them learn English. Number two, help them learn some of the coding and some of these other things. We are also adding courses in core banking. We are adding courses in MS Excel, and more courses we are planning to add into the future, right? The idea is, how do we help the students, especially in this COVID situation? There are a lot of challenges in students learning, right? So we can do through the Google Meet or Zoom or something like that. But this particular platform is available on the cloud, which means that it is accessible anytime, anywhere, right? So if there is power issue, let us say at 10 in the morning, and if the power comes back at 2 in the afternoon, they can still learn. Otherwise, in a Google Meet kind of learning, if the class is at 10 o'clock, if the student cannot join at 10 o'clock because of power issues, then that learning is something that they are not able to get. But because the Winmania Academy is on the cloud, they can learn anytime they want, right? We have seen many students learn in the night also, right? So what I'll do is I'll stop here and probably open up for any questions. All right. If there are no questions, probably I'll hand it back to the moderator. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your views. Now, I would like to invite our next speaker, Chaitanya Kotapalli, founder and CEO, Unique Bangalore. We all would like to hear and gain knowledge from sir. Please welcome sir.
Hi, can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, Chaitanya, loud and clear.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Shiva. Thanks for showcasing Winwinia Academy. Uh, at Unity, I think the primary purpose of what we do is to make all information, knowledge that is currently accessible by the hearing community should equally be accessible for the deaf community as well. So we would like to think of ourselves as, a bunch of people who would like to make everything that a hearing guy can, access, also have the same ability with the uh, deaf community as well. We have about 8 or 9 people in our team, and other than me and one other person, all our team members are deaf, right? And we do an excellent job of converting hearing content into sign language video based content, right? All my editors, signers, script writers, everybody is deaf, and that clearly proves that it is not an issue of skill. It is just it is just an issue of will. And if we are willing to overcome the barrier of communication, willing to find ways to communicate with the deaf community, anything is possible, right? We have been fortunate to work with Shiva from Winminia Academy, and he's been a major mentor and a contributor for getting us started and move in the right track. Winminia Academy is a flagship and a platform that we have envisioned, and he made sure that it sees the light of the day, right? Apart from that, there are other organizations that we work with, some spiritual organizations, and some technology companies who are currently working in various aspects of products and services. So that's what Uniki does, and we are basically proud that we have been able to find, even if in small numbers, find a way to overcome the language challenge and find a way to work together. And hopefully, we will set an example for organizations in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words and golden words. Now, I would like to invite our next speaker, Mr. Rahul Jain, Partner Let's Sign, Rajpura, Chief Operating Office, COO, Unique, Science School, Bangalore. Please welcome, sir.
Great. Hello to everyone. So I am now, like I said, I'm a partner of Let's Sign, and I'm also the Chief Operating Officer of Uniki. And we also started the Science School in Hyderabad. So we have a vision for educating children. So that is our vision. So that's why we have set up, and we are making different resources and materials. So we are analyzing all that right now. And then I am also connected with Uniki. So in developing materials for children and teaching materials for children. So we do a lot of research work, and then we take a lot of videos, and we add captions and voice so that all the resources are fully accessible for the children for educational purposes. So this, I think, is the first time this kind of setup has been there. At Uniki, we have different clients. So the different clients they need sign language content for accessibility, because after the RPWD Act, which specifies all information has to be accessible and equal to everyone, so people are now getting more aware. So the RPWD Act has helped us in creating much more awareness and the rights of people with disabilities in terms of accessibility. And if the clients do not know where to go in terms of making their resources accessible, so they can approach us. So, so we are of the same opinion. So we have worked for 8 months, and previously we had another company in Mumbai, which made different apps on dictionaries, on voter election campaigning, accessibility campaigning, and all that. There was a lot small work which has done, and now we have getting more opportunities to make a lot of resources accessible, a lot of information accessible. So we have a lot of information which is accessible through sign languages. So you hopefully in the future, 1 or 2 years, we'll have more accessible information. So yeah, thank you very much to everybody.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your experience with us. Now, I would like to thank our all speakers. Oh, shit. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
I would like to thank all speakers, Mr. Sparsh Gupta, IAS, Mr. Sumer Nair, Mr. Saurabh Roy, Mr. Rajneesh Kumar Arya, Mr. Shiva Jayagopal, Mr. Chaitanya Kotapalli, Mr. Rahul Jain for joining us and making this webinar successful.
Great. All the presenters have all done the presentation, and some of them have already left live. We still have a few people who are still in the call. So we have Dr. Vishal. We also have Gurpreet on call, and we have Josen also on call. So I would like to, ask if anybody has any kind of feedback or any kind of questions they would like to ask. Josen ji, do you have anything to say? आपका वीडियो या ऑडियो बंद है actually. Actually, Gurpreet, actually, he works with Vishal ji. So anyway, so we are here for vote of thanks, actually. Gurpreet ji, I can't hear you, in fact. Okay, we have now completed, we have come to the end of the webinar. So we have completed all the speakers. I would like to ask the moderator if there's anything else that we'd like to say. If nothing else, then we can close the session.
I would like to thank Punjabi University Patiala, Research Center for Technology, Department of Differently Abled People, Punjabi University Patiala, for collaborating with Speaking Hand Welfare Foundation. Thank you.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay. So, on behalf of the Center for Research, Center for Technology Development for Differently Abled Person, Department of Computer Science, Punjab University Patiala, I extend a very hearty vote of thanks to all the speakers for gracing your important work and sharing with us your findings and opinions today. So a big thank to Dr. Himanshu Das ji, our chief guest of today's webinar. Dr. Ramesh Pandey ji, our guest of honor. Mr. Sparsh Gupta ji, Mr. Sameer, Mr. Saurabh, Mr. Rajneesh, Mr. Shivaji, and Mr. Chaitanya, and Mr. Rahul ji. We also like to express our deep sense of appreciation for Speaking Hand Welfare Foundation to collaborate with us for the webinar. The team members, especially Mr. Pargat Singh ji, Mr. Saurav, Mr. Amrish, Madam Ravneet Kaur, Madam Gurmeet Kaur, and Madam Bhavna, they have done a wonderful job for this particular seminar, and we will look forward for more collaboration like this in future. Thank you very much for all for this particular webinar. Thank you.
Okay, so this is the closing thing. Shall we close? I would like to ask the moderator if we can close the session.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you all the viewers on YouTube and on Facebook. So in future we will still have this session will be recorded and available online. So anytime you can just open and watch them. Thank you very much. Now we shall close the session.